so these receptors can exert what we would call slow-acting, long-lasting effects. So that's sort of the canonical pathway where they induce changes that are impact the gene expression programs within neurons, within cells in the brain, and they can also act really quickly. So there's also receptors that act at the cell surface that bind to these, that these steroids bind to, that can exert quicker effects. Just to give you a sense of the broad scale, progesterone, both of these hormones, as I mentioned, are steroid hormones. They're originally synthesized from cholesterol, and they can be broken down. And metabolites of progesterone act directly on GABA receptors. So GABA is the major inhibitory neurotransmitter in the brain. GABA receptors are present throughout the entire brain. So when you think about sort of the scale of what can be impacted, it's really quite large because if you think about metabolites of progesterone acting on these GABA receptors, just about any system can be impacted. And then estrogen and progesterone receptors are present certainly in circuits that regulate maternal care. What we think of as the central site for maternal care is a region in the hypothalamus called the medial preoptic area. Certainly not the only region that regulates caregiving behavior. There's never one region, but the reason we call it the central region is because we think that it coordinates caregiving behavior through its projections to other brain regions, and it receives sensory inputs related to infants from just about every sensory modality. And so it interfaces with circuits that are involved in motivation, circuits that are involved in social behavior more broadly, and obviously circuits that will be involved in the direct behaviors that are related to caregiving. And so, how do these hormones impact the brain? Well, I think first I'll say, I think we're really just at the beginning of understanding the answer to that question.
Yeah.
But I think truly they impact every aspect of the brain. Within maternal neural circuits, they're going to increase responsiveness to infants. But even outside of those changes, we know that there are massive structural changes that are associated with pregnancy. So actually, for example, a relatively recent neuroimaging study came out of Emily Jacobs' lab. Really, really cool study doing dense neuroimaging throughout the entirety period of pregnancy and up to 2 years postpartum. And I think they found hundreds, I think it was something like 400 regions changing, and changes in gray matter. I mean, really, really large structural changes that could be seen, with the variability in change being substantially larger than what would happen throughout any other period of time in the lifespan of that same length. So these hormones are acting on receptors that are located throughout the brain, impacting just about every system imaginable, in addition to systems that regulate caregiving.
Yeah. So, we'll talk about maternal care behavior and some of the core circuitry involved in that. But the point you're making is there's basically a wholesale rewiring across more or less every region of the brain. It is a truly a massive change that happens.
Massive.
And so you've got these hormones, estradiol, progesterone, other ones, they get into the brain. These are fat soluble. So they get into the brain and they get inside of neurons. So they can both act at receptors on cell surface to do what we might call fast changes, maybe akin to like what a neurotransmitter does to change neural activity right now, basically. But they can also go inside the cell, inside the nucleus of neurons in the brain, and then change transcription of genes, the turning on and off of genes. And that's really going to be the type of change that's slower, and it's re-sculpting the circuits literally, like new synapses will get built or taken down. Things are being physically rewired